He was very worked up. I mean, all I know is you were standing, you were yelling, there were things being moved. You looked like that political guy on MSNBC. You were moving stuff everywhere. So I want to throw this out.
There's a lot going on. Oh, I was like Kornacki. Oh, I'll take that. I don't know if you're talking Jim Cramer. I won't take that.
No, Kornacki.
Steve Kornacki, I'll take that proudly. Yeah, I just need the khaki pants. Listen, it's an outrage and it's an insult, and it's further evidence as to why, honestly, I should be the only person entrusted to make any type of sports list. Like, we can't trust the media. We can't trust the players. I saw, we have colleagues stealing my pyramid and putting Aaron Rodgers at the top. You did a tiers, which I respected. However, you had Mahomes and Josh Allen on the same tier. It should just be left to me. Like, it's a heavy burden, but one that I will carry proudly and with the dignity it deserves. And people tried to justify it like, well, the voting took place in December. Oh, so the voting for the best football player alive took place while Patrick Mahomes was the defending league MVP, the defending Super Bowl MVP, and the defending Super Bowl champion. And he came in fourth. He wasn't even voted the best quarterback. Like, if the players wanted to get kind of hipstery and be like Myles Garrett's impact on the game and he's a real football player and Christian McCaffrey, Tyreek Hill, fine. But to have another quarterback in front of Mahomes is an embarrassment. And it undercuts the credibility of the entirety of the list. And the list was scattershot to begin with. Having Deron Bland ahead of Sauce Gardner, I would imagine that rightfully enraged J-Mac. Having Aaron Rodgers is on the list, and our guy Baker Mayfield is off the list. Give me a break. Did people watch football last year? Come on. There are a lot of problems, but none bigger than Patrick Mahomes coming in number 4, and sadly for the NFL, and this is why it matters, Colin, the Chiefs now simultaneously can be the 2-time defending champions in the midst of a dynasty with the most talented player we've ever seen, and underrated, disrespected, nobody believes in us.
That's right.
And people can say, Nick, you're making that up. 4 of the last 5 playoff games Patrick Mahomes has started, he's been the Vegas underdog. And now the list is saying the Niners have 9 players in the top 100. The Cowboys have a half dozen. The Chiefs have 3, only 1 player on their defense, which was dominant, and don't even have the best quarterback in their own conference. Okay, let's see how that works for the whole league over the next 6 months.
Yeah, it's actually, it runs the same course that the Patriots did, where Brady was called a system quarterback while collecting rings, and they were always called less talented than the Ravens. And so I do think in the NBA, we tend to anoint in the media before they deserve it. And in the NFL, we're more critical and cynical after you deserve it. And I think part of that is the NFL media is tougher. The NBA media, because it doesn't want to lose access to its 4 or 5 big agents or stars, tends to anoint Ja Morant. You know, he's a kid. He's like a poor shooting guard. And I'm not just blaming the media, but I think there is a reason for it. And I think a lot of it is based on you get a lot more love as a basketball star in our country early, probably earlier than you deserve, and you get chopped at constantly, even if you're a champion. That's how it feels to me.
Well, I also think there is an urge to move on to the next thing.
Yeah.
And even though Mahomes is 28 years old, I mean, my pal Mike Florio wrote an article a few weeks ago saying this is really what the article said. Mahomes is 28, which means he turns 29 in September, which means 30 is around the corner. So how much longer is he going to play? And with respect to my pal Mike Florio, I don't think anybody's worried about Patrick Mahomes retiring. And yes, I do appreciate him explaining how the passage of time and aging works for people who didn't know it. But whether it was post 13 seconds game, the American media had kind of decided, because Mahomes after that game lost to Burrow, Josh Allen's the guy. And then Allen didn't have the year they expected. So it's like, oh, okay, Joe Burrow, he's going to be the guy. And then they lost to Patrick. And then last year it was like, okay, the Chiefs are a wounded animal. They lost to the Raiders. They can't win. And then despite that, them winning the Super Bowl and going on the road and being underdogs in the last 3 games, I think people are tired of the Chiefs' inevitability, but we're just in the middle of it. It's not the last years of Tom and the Patriots. We are still in really the end of the first act of this play. So the urgency to move off it, I think, is foolish.
So it's interesting. I want to talk about a team in the Chiefs division. So I was joking earlier that in gymnastics, I still don't understand the scoring system. I mean, it's all subjective, but in sports, basketball, football, baseball, I get box scores and first down markers, and there's certain definitive answers. So I tend to be, when it comes to those sports that I grew up with, like, well, this is proven. I've seen it. So with Jim Harbaugh, San Diego College, boom, works instantly.
Right. Yep.
Stanford was the worst program in the country, 0-12 at one point when he took him over or something like that. Within 2 years, good. 3 years, excellent. San Francisco, overnight. Michigan, 5 wins to 10 overnight. I have proof. And in none of them is he had a great receiving core. Strangely, they're all built the same way, but we love teams with fancy, fast receivers. The Chiefs are better, frankly, without Tyreek Hill. It's a fact. The Cowboys won more. Des Bryant leaves. Dak's better, actually. So my take is, I've seen this. He had one receiver at Michigan and won a national title. They didn't throw the ball. They're going to be excellent because he drafted, offensive tackles, got a bunch of running backs.
Sure.
Why are we doubting they're going to be great really fast?
Well, so there's, to me, 2 flies. I agree with your premise, and I do think Harbaugh is a proven, outstanding coach. And I understand that some people wanted them to take Neighbors at 5 because they already have the left tackle taken care of. I do get the logic of being like, how about we just simply don't have to worry about our tackle position, either one, for the next 10 years with Slater and Alt, and it's the type of team you want to be. I get that. I don't think that's bad logic, so I understand that. The first concern is the plantar fasciitis or plantar fascia injury for Herbert is always ominous, and for people that understand this better than me, is say, that can linger, so that's a minor concern. But the other issue he's going to have is Colin. I think you alluded to it in his career. In his last 3 stops, what's the only one he didn't compete for a championship in? Because he competed for it with San Francisco. He won it with Michigan. The answer's Stanford. And why? Because they were not, as great as they were never consistently the best in their own conference. Well, the Chargers are not going to be the best team in their own division. And I see you on all your media outlets flirting with this idea of the Chargers winning the AFC West because you so badly want to do the thing we just talked about, which is move on past the Chiefs. I think the tough putt is, are the Chargers and Justin Herbert ever actually going to, and shouldn't say ever, but in the next 5 years, in the next 6 years, going to be better than the Chiefs with Patrick Mahomes? That I have real reservations about. Can the Chargers be a playoff team? Absolutely. Can Harbaugh instantly turn them from a 5-win team into a double-digit win team? If Herbert's healthy, I think that can happen. But I think it's very, very difficult to make the Super Bowl if every playoff game's on the road. And if you don't win your own division, every playoff game's going to be on the road. And that part to me is the toughest thing for Harbaugh to get over.
So I think let's talk Olympic basketball and Joel Embiid. So I think you can explain Steph Curry struggling, his age. He struggled at the end of last year. The FIBA rules, games are shorter. You don't get the touches. He's out of rhythm. He's a rhythm volume shooter. Embiid's different. So in Philadelphia, the front office is terrified to criticize him. And because he's a great quote and a funny guy, the media loves him. And we blame Ben Simmons for everything wrong with the Sixers. I mean, you could blame him for climate change, all right? James Harden, similarly. Easy guy to blame, marginalize. But this has been different. This is now Embiid at the Olympics. And he is in the way. He doesn't elevate others. And it's got an Aaron Rodgers feel where you could always blame the Packers' conservative front office, and then Jordan Love shows up, and immediately by November you're like, I think he's actually better. Let's stop the Aaron Rodgers, Tom Brady arguments. It's not close. He's just prettier than Tom as a thrower of the football. And we talk about Embiid and Jokic and Giannis. No. He's not athletic like Giannis. He doesn't elevate others like Jokic. He doesn't defend like AD. Can we just acknowledge the Olympics have been an awakening? We have to take him out of that group we often say runs the league.
So, listen, I think everything you said there, unfortunately, is fair. Because I have been an Embiid fan. I have picked the Sixers a couple times to make the NBA Finals. I admit if I have biases, I admit them. I think their GM, in addition to being a pal of mine, I think is one of the sharpest, savviest minds in basketball. So I root for Daryl. I root for the Sixers to a degree. But all those critiques, I feel, have been crystallized in this Olympic run.
Yes.
Which is he isn't in great shape. Now, part of that is, circular, which is he gets hurt, so he can't he can't do the conditioning he needs to do. So then he's out of shape, but then that leads to more injuries. And so you wonder, is that ever going to get fixed? I thought some of the quotes he gave were really unfortunate. What the stuff he said about, LeBron and Durant and those guys, it's like those are your teammates for these few weeks. That to me is odd. And the fact that when they put this Olympic team together, Embiid, obviously, not born in the States, and then theoretically was going to play for France, and then we ended up getting him. It was a huge coup. It was supposed to be the cheat code for this Olympic team, that we're going to have the size, the rebounding, the defense to compete with anybody when we weren't necessarily going to have that on this roster without him. And instead, he's been one of the least reliable, worst players on the team. And it is, to me, I think people, and folks can roll their eyes at me when I say this, but I just think the facts are out there from watching the games, prematurely downgraded LeBron in his stature in the league because they're like, he's in year 20, he's in year 21, he's almost 40 years old. And when LeBron is healthy, we're seeing it right now, he's still one of the 5 best players alive. And I think they prematurely upgraded Embiid without a single great playoff run, which we've asked for from every star ever, even if you don't win the championship, just a great start to finish playoff run because he is such a dominant regular season player. But the fact that the team is flatly better without him playing in these Olympics is a really tough argument to pull against if you still want to say he's one of the 4 best players in the world.
Finally, I think I said this earlier this week. Jerry Jones, owner of the Cowboys, is not terrified of never winning another Super Bowl. He's got 3. He's terrified of irrelevance. And Dak Prescott makes you relevant. And Dak's going to get his money. It's a weak college quarterback class. I've already had 2 executives in the league tell me they are interested in Dak. He's going to get his money. That's my take. Jerry is, as predictable as, the morning sun, is that he drafted him, he found him. I mean, during the anthem controversies, Dak was there. He's great at the podium. He keeps you relevant. I think Dak's going to get $65 million.
Man.
You think I'm nuts, don't you?
So 60, that part's correct. No, I don't. Here's the thing. I totally agree with your first point. And if I can, I'm going to steal a line from a mutual friend of ours, Kevin Clark, and congrats to Kevin and his upward success and everything he's doing. He said on his podcast or on some outlet a couple weeks ago that if someone came to Jerry Jones and said, I guarantee you win the Super Bowl this year, and all you have to give me is that you will never do a press conference again, he wouldn't take the trade. And I was like, oh, I agree with that take.
Yeah.
I think that is correct. That if Jerry's like, guaranteed, genie, rub on the, the crystal, I'm screwing this up. What do genies come out of? lamp. There you go. Right, you have 3. There it is. I guarantee you win the Super Bowl, but you have to cancel your weekly radio hit, and you never do a press conference. You'd be like, now I'll roll the dice. So I agree with that part of it. Where I disagree is this. If they were going to pay Dak, they'd have paid Dak. Had they paid Dak, it would be easier to pay CeeDee Lamb. They might have been more active in free agency. I think that they are terrified of being locked into a ceiling with Dak Prescott, and I think you're right about the money. Everyone that's saying, oh my God, Dak could get 57, 58 million, that is not accurate. It is a minimum of 60. It is probably $65 million a year, and I don't think the Cowboys are going to pay it. Because if they were going to, they would have. So I think Dak's going to play out this year and then become a 31-year-old franchise quarterback with true free and clear free agency. And I've been saying it. I will keep saying it. I really think Dak Prescott, Bill Belichick, package deal to the New York Giants a year from now is going to happen. And I think Bill gets to end where he started. I think the Giants get to rebrand entirely and steal the Cowboys quarterback. And Dak gets something like 3 years, $200 million guaranteed. And that's where this thing ends up going.
Yeah. Nick Wright, first things first. Your dress every time
Good
you
to
come
see
on.
You, buddy. I said very nice things, by the way, about you. I never promote the podcast on the show, but I said some very nice things about Colin Cowherd on What's Right with Nick Wright today. If people want to check it out, I'll send you a clip, Colin. I don't know what came over me, but I said some very nice things about you, so I appreciate it. I'll talk to you.
All right, buddy. Nick Wright. Hi, everybody. It's me, Uncle Colin. Subscribe here to get the latest from the herd, including exclusive behind-the-scenes videos and more, wherever you may be, however you may be watching. Thanks again for making us part of your day.